What's up, everybody? What is up, everybody? Sorry, I hit a bump. Doug with a solo episode here this week. Basically, we're going to be talking about Eternights, which is a game that I was lucky enough to get a review code for from the developer. So before we get into that, we got a little bit of housekeeping. First up, I'm going back to the El Bar and La Berge Casino. If you want to check out my shows, I'm doing a show on December 1st and December 2nd, 8 p.m. to midnight. You don't have to pay anything to get into the show. You just come, you hang out, maybe you get a drink, and it's a fun time. This is going to be my third time going there, and I do 2 shows every time I go up there, and it's always a really good time. So if you don't have anything going on those days, just come out. Next up, Resident Evil in Review is coming back soon. I don't know when the episode is going to get recorded, but Separate Ways just dropped today, so I plan on playing it a little bit later. And just a little note for anybody that listens to this podcast as a Steam Deck: if you have a Steam Deck and you plan on playing Separate Ways on your Steam Deck, I tried to play it over my lunch break and I had a lot of issues. As it turns out, I had to go to the preview build and then update my Steam Deck to the latest of the preview builds. And after you download that update, make sure you go into your settings and you hit apply the update. If you don't, I had an issue where basically you would get through 5 minutes and there would be a cutscene. It's like literally the second cutscene in the DLC. It will freeze, and not only will the game crash, your entire Steam Deck will crash, and you'll have to reset. You'll have to reboot your Steam Deck, and it was really frustrating. It took me a little bit. I had to go onto a Steam Deck page that I'm on Facebook to find the answer for that. So just something to look out for. And if you're not caught up on the Resident Evil in Review series, excuse me, got kind of nasally today. You can go find those episodes on our feed. We reviewed and ranked every feasible Resident Evil game. What I mean by feasible is that we went and we started with the original Resident Evil on the PlayStation 1, and we played all of them. Did not beat all of them because some of them are crap, but we played all of them, we reviewed them, we ranked them, except for the Wii games and games like Operation Raccoon City that you can't really play on PC right now. But if you want to go listen to that, it goes from Resident Evil 1 all the way to Resident Evil 4 Remake. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Separate Ways, and we're going to talk about the additions that they just put into Mercenaries to see if that changes our mind about how we felt about that at all. And you can actually find the review we did for Mercenaries on our feed as well. With all that being said, we're talking about Eternights. Oh, one more thing. If you want to look up the written review for Eternights, that is available on our WordPress page, as well as our written review for Sea of Stars, which just went live today. That is another great RPG game for you to play, and it really, I think I'm going to talk about this later, but if you're an RPG fan, 2023 is a great time for you. But with that being said, let's get into Eternights. So, Eternights is the best way that I can describe it is a mashup of the social elements and some of the RPG elements from Persona with a more Devil May Cry kind of combat system where you're going through and you're doing like light attacks and heavy attacks and comboing them with these unlockable skills that you get, but you have the social aspect where when you are not in combat, you're hanging out with your friends and your allies, and you're building relationships with them, and those relationships, as you elevate them, you can romance them, or you could stay friends, and as you progress, you unlock more skills with them, and their attacks get stronger, yada yada yada. But yeah, the game starts off with you and your friend, y'all are hanging out in your apartment, and basically you're filling out dating profiles, like you're signing up for dating, like I guess whatever this universe's version of Tinder is. And your friend leaves, you're hanging out, you're by yourself, and he sends over another dating app, and you sign up for it. You do like a little quick questionnaire, and after that's over with, you basically get a text message, and you've got a date, a super flirty date. So the next day, you're going to meet your date, and there's basically this world-altering event where these Eternite facilities, they have some kind of leak, and the whole world is changed into this basically hell on earth, and all of the people except for you and like a handful of others are transformed into these demon monster things. I'm not really quite sure what they are. I think they're demons. Well, no, that wouldn't make sense. They would have to be monsters. But you can't make demons. At least in my head, you can. You have to make monsters, but you can't make demons. Those are just those are just hell things. But basically, the whole world's changed. It's hell on earth, and and you and your best friend, you meet up in a bunker, and pretty quickly you get out of the bunker and you lose your arm, but then I'm trying to navigate the way to set up this game without revealing any story details. You lose your arm, and you get this really cool little energy arm that transforms into a sword, and that is the start off. And you have to get to a point on the map, but to get to that point on the map, you have to get through two of these big walls, right? And so you get on a train and you're off to the races. Now, I'm trying to remember the exact number. I think counting the bunker and the little train station, there are four main dungeons in this game. So it's kind of on the short side, but you'll get why that's a good thing in a little bit. And basically, the dungeons work just how dungeons in like a game like Persona works, where you're roaming the halls, going, finding, there's these puzzles to do, there's some mini games to do in the dungeons, and a whole lot of fighting. And you have a certain amount of time at each dungeon. Like, I think the first dungeon, I think you've got like 4 or 5 days to do it, which is fine because the dungeon's pretty short. What my strategy for these were that I would show up and I would do everything that I could in the dungeon, and I would take those leftover days and I would hang out with my friends and raise those social links. And the days are separated into days and nights. During the day, you can only explore the dungeon in the daytime, so you kind of want to use that time to the daytime to explore dungeons. But also, when you are done with the dungeon, or you just don't feel like doing a dungeon at that particular time, you can go and you can hang out, you can spend time with one of your friends, and that you can either spend time with them or train with them. And I'll talk about training in a second, but spending time with them is how you advance the social links. And that's where you get your story. You kind of learn about the backstory of these characters as you spend time with them. And all of these scenes are great, I thought. And as long as we're talking about the social aspects a little bit longer here, there are these random little. Well, I don't think they're random. I think they're just strategically placed. But there are these little cutscenes that you get throughout the story, and it's basically just showing life on this train. And some of these cutscenes are absolutely hilarious. There was one of them where I paused the game, which, by the way, real quick to talk about that real fast. The fact that you can pause at any point in this game is a major selling point for me, because as a father, I had to pause games all the time. Like and the Steam Deck is a big, point in that direction where I could put the console to sleep, and that's how I was able to play games like Elden Ring and stuff like that. But the fact that I can literally, at no point in this game can I not pause it. I can pause it at any point. The only time where pausing did not work is during the special moves, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, I paused this cutscene so I could bring it to my wife, because I was like, "You've got to watch this. This is hilarious." Just the personality and all these characters. I don't think there was a single character that I did not like. The best friend character, when the game started, he is kind of like one of those things where I did not know if I was going to like his character a whole lot, but he has a really great arc, and just every character in this game is stellar. But yeah, so basically, you spend time with them. or you could train with them, which is training is something you can also do at nighttime. So at daytime you can spend time, or you can run the dungeon, or you could train. Basically, what training does is if you don't have enough points to advance to the next level, rank up that social link, then you could train with them or scavenge with them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And you can get some points, and you get white essence by training or scavenging, which again we'll talk about white essence when we get to combat. I thought that the training mini games were great. They were good. Every character has different training mini games. I actually really enjoyed. The reason I'm not saying names for any of these, by the way, is I want them to be fresh for you. The best way I can say it, the ice-based social link has a mini game where you're splitting red objects and blue objects. So you have to hit, I think it's right bumper for the blue objects, left bumper for the red objects. And it sounds very simple, but when I was just getting into a rhythm with sending these to where they needed to go, and sometimes I would just be so caught up in that rhythm that I would send the wrong one to the wrong side, and it was just it was one of those things where if this was just like a mobile app on my phone, I could see myself putting so many hours into just playing that game. But yeah, so scavenging is the other thing that you can do at nighttime. At nighttime, you can't spend time with your social links. You can either train with him or you can scavenge. And basically, what scavenging is like a character will say, "Hey, I could really use some shoes right now, some new shoes," and you can choose between 3 different places. It's a convenience store, a library, or a storehouse. And once you pick which one you think the item is at, you get there and you have a minute, and you can see that there's a bunch of glowing objects all over whatever location you're at, and you have to go and click. You'll go to click the first one. It's like, hey, these are batteries, and you just go on until you find the shoes you're looking for. And what I appreciated is that the items that you're looking for aren't always where you think they will be. Like I think another item that was necessary was it was like a coffee mug, and I thought, like, I just assumed that would be at the warehouse, and it was not. It was in the library. And it's just a cool little mini game. And if you don't if maybe those mini games don't vibe with you, the training mini games, it's always completely possible to just do the scavenging aspect of it, and that'll still get you some extra points. Let's see, we're talking about that. And that's pretty much the gist of the. Oh, also, spending time with them is not always going to be just you having a text-based just conversation. Sometimes if you spend time with them, you go through a little city area and you fight monsters with them, and it's just you and that character. So it can lead to, like, if you're not with the character that heals, then you will not be able to heal yourself on these runs. So it can add like a little degree of challenge, which, and we're going to talk about difficulty in a little bit when we get to combat. That is, I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. Basically, that's so the social links. Obviously, if you want, you can choose to pursue a relationship with these characters. I did not try to romance more than one, so I don't know if I would assume there's a consequence to that. I should actually ask. I should ask the developer, or my contact. But I'm not sure if there's a consequence for romancing more than one. But there is a New Game Plus option that I absolutely do plan on pursuing one day, so I might do that. I might just try. So relationships are great. As you're advancing your relationship with them, you're getting white essence, and you're unlocking abilities that you're using that white essence to unlock abilities. Like the ice social link has a lot of good attacks that you can use in conjunction with your own. And there's another ally that heals, so you can upgrade her healing ability. Or also, she has 2 different healing abilities. One is like an AOE where she like puts a little circle down where as long as you're in that circle you're healing. And there's another one where she just instantly heals you, which, you know, dealer's choice, I guess. And as long as we're talking about the white essence of things, oh, real quick, when you max out their essence, you get what's called their ultimate attack, which is basically really powerful. It's not really an attack at least with the confidants, the social links that I maxed out. Like one of them was, if I'm about to die, they will intervene and keep me from dying. And then there was another one that I maxed out where they would revive me for a little bit. So I had a pretty good little shield if I ever died or got close to dying, which I guess is something to talk about. I never once died. I got close. I definitely got close because there are some enemies that kind of can be frustrating towards the end of the game, and I'll explain why in just a second here. But let's talk a little bit about essence. There is white essence and there is black essence, and white essence is used to upgrade your allies and, you know, their abilities and stuff like that. The black essence is to upgrade your abilities, so you can use it to unlock things like Death Blow, which is my favorite ability. Basically, when you're attacking, you have this little meter at the bottom of the screen, and as you're attacking, and you had to be doing damage, by the way. So like if you're just hammering on a shielded enemy, you're not going to be filling up this meter. But if you're doing damage, you're past the enemy shield, you're filling up this meter, and then you can do what's called a Death Blow. And if it's a normal enemy, then the Death Blow will kill them, which is exactly what it sounds like. But if it's a bigger enemy that's not close to death, it will basically just do a lot of damage, and it'll make your little ultimate meter go up. And the ultimate meter is important. Well, we'll just go ahead and get into combat. So you basically, you're stringing together combos of your physical attacks, and you unlock more. Like you can get a strike, or you can get a Death Blow. There's an ability called Whirlwind that's pretty good. There is an ability where you can make swords, like you can summon a bunch of swords that circle around you that does damage to anybody that's close to you, which is really useful for later in the game. Trust me when I say you want this ability towards the end of the game. You're basically doing all this until you get your ultimate meter filled up. And the ultimate meter, I never really use them on trash mob enemies, but when you get to the bosses, I think every boss in this game has a shield, and then there are some like big enemies that have shields. And to break through the shield, you need to use an ultimate attack that corresponds with an element that is strong against whatever boss you're facing. So like if it's a fire type boss, then you want to use an ice ultimate attack. So what this entails is you fill up your ultimate meter and you use that ice-based attack, and there's like a little quick time event where you have to hit X in time with a certain there's like a little circle, and you have to hit X when the circle is perfect or whatever. And then you have to there's two more QTEs. One is you just have to hammer on the X button, and then you have to do this exact same one that you started with the ultimate attack with. If you do that, you break through the shield. Sometimes you have to do two ultimate attacks to break through the shield because they have 3 shields, and the ultimate attack usually only goes through 2. But one of my main issues with the game, and it's only like one of 2 issues, well, technically 3. We'll talk about the third one. I think I forgot to write about this in the written review. There is almost a monotonousness. That's not a word. The combat is a little bland before you get through those shields because you're not doing any damage, and you're kind of just dodging and doing attacks to kind of build up your meter. And once you get through that shield, combat's great again because you're doing, you're dodging, you're doing these cool combos, you're attacking with your allies, and it's great. But a lot of times when I would face off against boss enemies, I found myself being very uninspired and bored. But that is a little nitpick that I just thought of. I still think that this game is great. You should definitely play if you're an RPG fan. but yeah, so that is the basic flow to combat with bosses. You build up your meter, you use an ultimate attack to break through their shields, and then you're off to the races. You're back to good combat. I think that's the only problem. That pretty much does it up with combat. The areas are all really inventive. They're fun to explore. I think the only thing, the brightness level. I think it was the last dungeon in particular. Was the last dungeon? Yes. Even with the brightness turned all the way up to the max, I had trouble seeing, and it wasn't like I was. I do a lot of gaming, like when I'm waiting to go into my night class in my car, and it wasn't even a thing like that. Like I was on my couch trying to play it on my Steam Deck, and the brightness just was not enough for me to really see. And you kind of get, because you got the little whole glowing arm thing. It kind of mitigates the issue, because you can kind of you just see it from the glow of your arm. But I think with a good patch you can fix that problem. So nothing to worry about really there. The only other issue that I had was there is a motorcycle sequence that infuriated me to no end. But again, that's just little nitpicks. This game as a whole is fantastic. The story is really great. It's not too long, which in a time, 2023 is like a great year for RPGs. It is also a year of very long games. Just off the top of my head, some of the last games that I played this year, you look at Diablo 4, Tears of the Kingdom, you've got Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, and Starfield's out now. Sea of Stars had a pretty lengthy campaign to it. This game was I think my game time was clocked at about 9 hours, which I could have. I've heard that people get up to 10 to 12 hours on this game, and that's probably because of the difficulty. I was on the easiest difficulty because I am a little wuss, and I will say this for the game: there is not really there's definitely some difficulty, especially towards the end of the game, but I did not die a single time throughout the entire game. So I think that this is a great casual RPG to pick up and play. I think I just said this, but the story is great. All the characters are fantastic. Even if you don't think you like a character, the game is probably going to bring you around, because there were two characters that I did not like when they were introduced, the best friend being one of them. I will spoil the other one. But by the end of the game, I absolutely love them. I think this game is fantastic. Studio Sai, well, I'm not sure if it's Studio Sai or Studio Sai, but I am firmly on board with whatever they choose to do next. I will be first in, as soon as they announce another game, I will be their biggest supporter. I plan on ordering a physical edition of this game when it comes out, because I adore this. It is right up my alley. I love RPGs. I love RPGs with social elements. I think I found my next RPG for when I don't know what I'm going to play. It's been in my Steam backlog for forever. Okay, it's the Night Ride Home podcast. We're going to have a call that interrupts it. But like I said, yeah, it's an RPG. It's an RPG social elements, which I love. I honestly don't know where the cutoff is, so I'm going to start with saying, hold on, I just got to, just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. 1 second. Okay, back. It's an RPG. It's an RPG with social elements, right up my alley. I love it. It's great. But yeah, so if you want to try a great RPG, I think it's normally $30, but it's on sale for $26.99. It might not be that sale might not still be good. I don't know if it is. The soundtrack's also on Spotify, and it is massive. I think it's like 4 hours long. Whenever I beat a game, I like to listen to the soundtrack. So I went to Spotify after I was done playing, and I added it to my playlist. And when I did that, I noticed that my playlist, my backlog is always busy when it comes to Spotify, and I noticed that my backlog had gotten way bigger. I think the soundtrack is sitting around 150 tracks. So you're gonna have a lot of music to listen to if you dig the soundtrack like I did. So yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Eternights, great video game. And if you like this episode, go check out some of our other stuff. Like I said, Resident Evil reviews coming back with Separate Ways DLC and some additions to Mercenaries. And if you're in the Lake Charles area, December 1st and 2nd, I will be doing a show at La Berge in the L Bar, 8 p.m. to 12. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you next time.